Okay, wonderful. Good Tavach, everyone, as we start another week of learning here at the Agudas Yisrael Beis of Fairways, and we're co-sponsored by the Rezefkowitz family in honor of their parents, co-sponsored by Mr. and Mrs. Eddie Chazan, for Shalom and for Shoshana Bas Penina and Simone Bas Rachel, co-sponsored by Binyamin Rivlin, Lili Nishmas Yitzchak Ben Avram Yud Alevi, co-sponsored by Shelley Zeitlin, for the schus of his children, Eli Orit and Ora, and by Berik Gowas, so the full Shalema from Moshe Meir Ben Esther Fadl, and Hakras HaTov to the Shir, and by Shalom Fogel, Lili Nishmas, Yaakov Zeb Ben Yehuda Aryeh, Rivka Bas Yaakov Yosef, Tzivya Miriam Bas God, and Yosef Ben Zion Ben Yaakov Zev. Then Neshama should have an Aliyah. We welcome everyone here this evening, as we have a very cold climate these days, and joining us at the beginning of this evening is Mel Zachter, Saba, Yaakov Warman, Ben Zion Cohn, Shimon Klein, Irving Fishbaum, Mo Kushner, Shuri Umansky, Nachman Chapler, A.B. Spry in the car, Yisrael Fisher, Stephen Holtzman, Michael, Ilya Shutman, A. Barbach, Yitzhi Muller, Rabbi Kranz, Naftali Jablin, and here in Shul we have Berish Gesseman, Michael Avram Chavin, Reuven Shannon, and Reb Halpert. We are holding on the bottom of Lamed Amid Beis. We are holding by Amar Reb Yehuda, which is 6 lines from the bottom. 6 lines from the bottom of Daf Lamed Amid Beis.
We get double schar from you,
100%. Double schar. Amar Reb Yehuda. Eidos hamacheshes zu ezu bebedikais. If the testimony contradicts each other by the incidental questions of the examination. So, even though they contradict in some of the background details, we still accept the witnesses in a monetary case. So the Gemara says we want to qualify this. Amar Rava mistaver milster Reb Yehuda be'echad aimer ba'arnekei shchayra be'echad aimer ba'arnekei levana. If one said that the money was given in a black purse and the other one says the money was given in a white purse, so with this incidental information will still, one of the witnesses doesn't have a good memory. One of the witnesses was not so perceptive. However, aval echad amar mana shacher, if one says that Dr. Black owes Nachman an old mana, the echad amar mana lavan, and the other says that Dr. Black owes Nachman a new mana being more valuable, ein mitzdarfen. That's a contradiction in the essence of the case, and there we throw out the testimony. Now the implication is, but if it was a capital case, even something incidental as a black wallet or a white wallet would ruin the witnesses. So asks the Gemara as we welcome in Marshall Castle, and we welcome in, who is that with you, Marshall?
Yitz Fuchs.
Oh, Yitz, how are you? Oh, wow. Nice to have you.
No, get rid of the background. No background.
It's
hey.
What happened is GPS broke down. Marshall. His GPS broke down.
okay, welcome, Eddie. And it's nice to have Yitzi and Ematova Manoim Shevetz Achim Gam Yochad. Even if it is a ach like Marshall, but you know what they say, ach is sometimes ach. But Dr. Guy, it's good to have you. So asks the Gemara, we're 3 lines from the bottom of Daf Lamed Amid Beis. Va'arnekei shchayra b'dinei nefashos lai. If there would be a discrepancy in the witnesses in a capital case where one says it was a black wallet, one says it was a white wallet, it would destroy the testimony. I v'amar Rav Chisda echad aimer b'sayef hargu echad amar ba'aririn hargu. If one of the witnesses in a murder case said he killed him with a sword, and one of them said he killed him with a dagger, which is a short knife, ein zeh nochen. That we throw out because that's in the murder weapon. But echad amar kelev shchayim, if one says the murderer was wearing a black suit, ve'echad amar kelev levanim, and one says he was wearing a light suit, hari zeh nochen. So you see that we don't throw out the testimony in background contradictions, even in a capital crime. Says the Gemara, Gavra Karamis. Are you asking a contradiction between Rav Chisda and Rav Yehuda? One holds we do throw out, and one holds we don't. Now, starting at the top of Lamed Aleph, we have our work cut out for us this evening, as we will finish the third parak and start the fourth parak together. 24 Zumar strong, as we're just getting underway over here on Motzei Shabbos. Nardoi Imre, Nardoi said, Afilu echad amamana shacher ve'echad amamana lavan. In a monetary case, even if one says that Marshall, we'll take Dr. Block off the hook now that Marshall is back, even if one says that Marshall owes Nachman an old mana, and one says Marshall owes Nachman a new mana, also mitzdarfen. Command Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha. Remember, we said that Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha says that we could combine testimony even if they were on different days, where one said Marshall took the loan on Sunday of a mana, and one said Marshall took the loan on Monday of a mana. So the Gemara says, nah, that's no proof that Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha would hold it where the money is different. Ema de Shamalei Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha echadolei michishu adadi, where they're not contradicting about the amount at all. Both say it's a mana. But but where they're contradicting, that one says it's an old mana, which is worth less, and one says that it's a new mana, miyama, who says that Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha would accept that? Elohu damar kahaitana. The Nardai say like the following Tana. The Tanya, Rab Shimon ben Elazar, Loi nechleku beisham beisil al shtei kitei edim. Beisham beisil don't argue about two sets of witnesses. She'achas seimeres Mosayim. One set, Reuven and Chaim say that Marshall owes $200. Va'achas seimeres Mana, and the other set, Dunn and God, say that Marshall says that Dunn and God say that Marshall owes Nachman 100. So everybody, both sets of witnesses agree that it's at least 100. The two that say 200 agree to 100. So everybody agrees that Marshall will have to pay up 100. Can we combine one set of witnesses where one says 200 and one says 100? That's a split, contradictory testimony. One says 200, one says 100. We can't combine them. Remember, Beisil says even so, if one says 200 and one says 100, they both agree to 100, so we could combine them to the amount of 100. Yesh b'chlal masayim mana. So therefore, Beisil would agree that if one says that Marshall owes a old 100, and the other says Marshall owes a new 100, included in the new 100 is an old 100, so that you combine them, that he should be chayiv to pay the old mana to Nachman.
I only got 100 on me. What do I do?
Pay it up. Now, Echad Amar and Yitz, put him in a chokehold, and Eddie, we are.
It's the enforcer here.
Eddie, we are holding on Daf Lamed Aleph Amid Aleph, and we are holding 13 lines from the top. And Eddie, who is in Sin City, is being Mekadesh the Makam. He's being Mekadesh the Makam. He's putting in the Tzaitzes Shel Kedusha, says the Gemara. Now, new case. Echad Aimer Chavya Shel Yayin. What happened over here is that Shimon says that Marshall owes Nachman a barrel of wine. The Echad Aimer Chavya Shel Shemen. And Irving says Marshall owes him a barrel of oil. Now, a barrel of oil is much more expensive than a barrel of wine. So, Hava Yuvda, there was such an incident. V'asal kami de Rabami, and they came before Rabami. Chayve Rabami l'shlume le'chavita de chamra migav chamita de mishcha. Since everybody agrees that Marshall owes at least a barrel of wine, which is less expensive than a barrel of oil, so Rabami made Marshall pay Nachman a barrel of wine. Says the Gemara, come on, who are you going like Reb Shimon ben Elazar? In the case of Reb Shimon ben Elazar, one said 200, one said 100. The one that said that 200 agrees to 100. But here, the one that says a barrel of wine doesn't agree to a barrel of oil. The one that says a barrel of oil doesn't agree to a barrel of wine. Where there is included in 200, 100. Where one says wine and one says oil, they're completely contradictory. Could we combine them? Says the Gemara, you're right. What happened over here was Shimon and Irving, one said that Marshall owed Nachman the value of a barrel of oil, and one said the value of a barrel of wine. So the value of a barrel of oil is 200, the value of a barrel of wine is 100, so yesh bechlal masayim mana, so there he has to pay. Echad Omer b'diyut elyana. One says that Marshall took the loan in the upper apartment. The Echad Omer b'diyut ha'tachtayne, and one says that Marshall took the loan on the ground floor. Reb Chanina ma'aseh ba lifnei Rebbe. Such an incident came from Rebbe, and Rebbe says this is just an incidental difference. But Sirif Edusan, and he allowed the testimony to combine. Now we said, how do we know when the judges came out? One of the judges can't say to Marshall, what could I do? I thought you were innocent, but the other two ruled against you. Tan Rabbanan, the Gemara repeats this. How do we know that when a judge comes out, Lo Ya'imer Hareini Mizaka v'Chaveri Mechayvim, Marshall, what could I do? I thought you were innocent, but the other two judges ruled against you. My colleagues overruled me. Talmud Leimer, you can't be a talebearer. You cannot spread gossip amongst your people. One who spreads gossip, Megalasite, is a revealer of secrets. The Gemara tells us that this is a reason to expel someone from the yeshiva. How Talmida, there was a disciple, the Nafikalei Kala, that there went about him a rumor, the Gully Milsa, that he revealed something, the Itmar Bey Midrasha Basar Essen B'Tartin Shnin. 22 years later, he revealed something that was said in confidence in the base of Medrash. Apke Rabami Midrasha, Rabami expelled him from the study hall. Amar Dain Gali Razia. This is a person who reveals secrets, and we can't have him in the yeshiva. Okay, starting a new Mishnah, just getting underway over here on a Matzah Shabbos of learning Torah, to be Mekayim the mitzvah v'dibarta bam lasas nachas ruach liyitzreinu, and our learning should be a fulfillment of rifos hila sharecha. It should bring cure to one's navel, ulechol b'sarei marpe, and healing to all one's flesh. L'fur shalema for Moshe ben Estefrad, l'fur shalema for Rivka bas Shira Leah and Devorah bas Shashabina. They should all have a l'fur shalema b'sek sharcha liyisrael. Says the Mishnah, Kol's man shemevi raya. Even if we ruled against one of the litigants, if he brings new proof, soiser esadin, we reverse the decision. However, amaloi kol raya sheyesh lo chavei mikanat shloshim yom. If we give him a deadline, we say any proof you have to bring within 30 days. Matzah b'sei shloshim yom. If he finds proof within 30 days, soiser. If he brings it after 30 days, we already closed the case. So Reb Shimon Gamliel says, I don't think that's fair. Well, how can you close the case? What if he doesn't get the proof until after 30 days? Reb Shimon Gamliel, what should this one do if he didn't find it within a month and he found it after a month? So he could bring any evidence even if it's later. Now, they tell him, bring witnesses. And he says emphatically, I don't have witnesses. Bring proof. And he says, I don't have proof. And then he comes, and then afterwards he brings proof, or he brings witnesses, which looks suspicious, like he's maybe manufactured them. The Rabbanan say we don't pay any attention. Once he says he doesn't have any proof, he doesn't have any witnesses, we don't accept these people. Reb Shimon Gamliel, again Reb Shimon Gamliel chimes in, what should he do that he didn't know he had witnesses and he didn't know he had proof and then later on he found proof. However, even Reb Shimon Gamliel agrees when it's really suspicious. If Roshem is chayav b'din, if he saw that the wind was turning against him, he saw the handwriting on the wall, and all of a sudden, v'amar kirvu ploini v'yoduni. Then all of a sudden, he said, let these two come and testify for me. So it really looks suspicious, like they're false witnesses and he was only going to use them if he needed to. Or you've pulled out a star from in his money belt. So if he had it all the time, why didn't he present it in the beginning of the case? So this is too suspicious and we don't accept it at all. Now right away the Gemara says in the first case of the Mishnah, where they gave him 30 days and he found proof after 30 days. So Reb Shimon Gamliel says we accept it because maybe he didn't have the proof until 30 days. The law is like Reb Shimon Gamliel in this case, that will accept it even after 30 days. The law is not like the Chacham. So the Gemara says, duh. If the halacha is like Reb Shimon Gamliel, then obviously the halacha is not like the Chacham. Pshita. Kevin dama halacha Reb Shimon Gamliel. Mimeli yadana, we know, they ain't halacha Chacham. Says the Gemara, Mao, the same, I might think, if we say, okay, after 30 days we don't accept anything anymore, and that's what we did, I might think shaper dummy, I might think we should leave it that way. If we did that, we reversed the decision and accepted even after 30 days, like Reb Shimon Gamliel. But in the next case, where we said to him, bring witnesses, and he emphatically said, I don't have witnesses. Where he said, we say to him, bring proof, and he emphatically said, I don't have proof. So the Chacham say we don't accept it afterwards. Reb Shimon Gamliel says we do. In this case, we paskin like the Chacham. In this case, we paskin like the Chacham, that once he says he doesn't have it, then we don't accept it afterwards. So again, the Gemara says, well, if you're telling me the halacha is like the Chacham, obviously the Chacham is not like the halacha is not like Reb Shimon Gamliel. Pshita kevin dama halacha kedivei Chacham meili yadana dein halacha Reb Shimon Gamliel. Says the Gemara, big chiddush. It's telling you that this is the only time the halacha is not like Reb Shimon Gamliel, and it's not like ha kamashim bahi ein halacha Reb Shimon Gamliel. It's only in this case the halacha is not like Reb Shimon Gamliel. Ha bekulu. On all of Shas, halach Reb Shimon Gamliel, la'afuke, to exclude Rabbi Barbachana in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, it says that the halach is not like Reb Shimon Gamliel in 3 cases. La'afuke ma'adam Rabbi Barbachana and Rabbi Yochanan called mokum sheshana Reb Shimon Gamliel b'Mishnah Seinu. Whenever it says Reb Shimon Gamliel in the Mishnah, halacha k'maisei chutz ma'orev l'tzidain v'raya achroin, except for the case of the orev, tzidain and raya achroin. Raya achroin is our case. Right? In our case, whether we'll accept the raya after he says that he doesn't have a raya. But here it's saying the halacha is not like Reb Shimon Gamliel only in this case, unlike Rabbi Bar Chana that says that it's not like Reb Shimon Gamliel in 3 cases. Now, as we welcome in Barry Cement, who is well dressed.
Rabbi Weiss, I have to apologize. I have a family simcha. I just wanted to say I try to be on. Unfortunately, I'll be at a simcha and I can't, but my head is, trying to be with you guys. So be mindful of me that I'm still here. I kept my streak going, okay?
But I don't understand. This is a cousin's cousin of a sister-in-law?
It's a little more complicated than that. You would need a chart. This is like learning from your mom.
Nothing's easy with Barry.
Marshall, start. No bourbon for you 1 year. Okay. Good luck, everybody. I can get on later.
We'll have you in mind.
He's the Hahu Yanuka that we're talking about, right?
Yeah. Okay, good to luck, Barry.
Good luck, Rabbi Weiss.
No. Yeah.
Question?
Yeah.
I understand the difference between, what's the example of l'chatchila and b'diavad in this situation?
L'chadchila and b'diavad would be if Bezdin already said that they're not accepting it.
Okay, and
So they reverse it.
then b'diavad?
B'diavad means if they already said, no, l'chadchila is l'chadchila we accept it like Reb Shimon Gamliel. B'diavad would be if Bezdin already ruled that we don't accept it, so maybe we won't accept it, Kamash Malon, that we do. Now, as we are 7 lines from the bottom of Daf Lamed Aleph Amud Aleph, Hahu Yanuka, the Tavua Ladina Kamid Rav Nachman. There was a young boy that was summoned to din before Rav Nachman. Amalei, so people had a claim against this young boy. So they said to him, Islach Sadeh, do you have any witnesses to your defense? Amalei Loi. Islach Raya, do you have any proof? Amalei Loi. So Chayve Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman said that he was responsible to pay. Have a kabochi va'azl. So the boy was crying as he left the court. Shamua hanach inshek. People heard the boy crying and they inquired of him, what's going on? Why are you crying? And he said about the case. So they said, no, they know the affairs of the father. Rav Nachman said over there, even though the boy said he doesn't have witnesses, that's because he's a little boy and he doesn't know the affairs of the father. In this case, even the Rabbanan will agree that we'll accept the witnesses. Because a child in the matters of his father, lo yada, he doesn't know. So the fact that he said he doesn't know shouldn't stop us from accepting the testimony.
My wife?
Yeah,
How old was the child?
9 years old.
So he's still going to be taken to court? He's not considered a katan? Or he's katan for being in court?
He is considered a cotton, but we know that P'utos can do business in Metalton.
Okay.
Now,
What do they do? Does he have to pay?
no, they reopened the case. Now, 4 lines from the bottom of Lamed Aleph Amud Aleph. Hahi itza dinofik shtara metuse yada. Here, this woman was what we call a shlish. There's a shtar that Marshall owes money to Nachman. What do you expect? And she has the shtar. She's a shlish. Amr lei, and she said, we have to suspect if she's all there, but she said, Yodana by shtora de priyav. I know that Marshall paid it. Probably a quack. But anyway,
As long as I paid it, she's good. I trust her.
Probably a quack. But anyway, she said she says that she knows that Marshall paid it. Hemnei Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman believed her. Now the question is why. So there is a tzad to say that she had a migu, that she could have said that the shtar is hers, and that Marshall owed her the money. So therefore, she's believed to say that it's paid. So the Gemara says, Amalei Rav Nach Kaman Kerebi da Amar Oisios Niknas b'Masira, that notes are required by being handed over. So therefore, she could have said it was hers, and she could have said Marshall owes the money, so therefore she's believed to say that he paid it. But Amal says the Gemara, no. Amalei Shani Hach, it's different over here, because she has, if she wanted, she could have burnt the shtar. She just could have burnt it. So she's believed to say that Marshall paid it. Shani Hacha di Ibai, if she wanted to, Kalte, she could have burnt it. As we welcome in Shimon Deer, it's good to have you, Shimon. Bottom line of Lamed Aleph Amud Aleph, Ikad Amrei, Lo Yehemno Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman did not believe her. Amalei Rav Nachman, why? Voi Boy, if she wanted to, she could erase the proof by burning it. Kalte. Says the Gemara, you know what? This shtar has an ashrata on it. This shtar already has a certification of the court that it was certified. And once it was certified, then it's known that she was holding it. So all of a sudden, if it got burnt, it would cast her in a bad light. Kevin is chazik bebeidina, since it was already certified in the court. Iboy kalte le'amrina. We don't say that she could have burnt it.
So the migu stands? You say migu now?
No, you don't.
You don't.
You don't.
Then
That's why Rav Nachman didn't believe her.
why doesn't she have a migu that she could have collected it herself?
Because I see it's like Nicholas ben
Well,
Masira.
if you hold that way, in other words, but
Now, Eisvei, 2 lines from the top of Lamed Aleph Amud Beis. Eisvei Rav Nachman, Simpoin Sheyesh Olav Edim, a receipt that has witnesses on it. In other words, Marshall has a receipt that says that he paid Nachman. So Yiskayim b'chaysamav. It has to be certified by the witnesses that signed the receipt. That's not a forgery. Ein olav edim, if the receipt doesn't have witnesses, but the yotza mitachas yedei shlish, but it was by a third party, oy sheyotza achar chitim shtaros, or remember who's holding the document? Who's holding the IOU note? Nachman. And after the witnesses is signed the receipt, so that Nachman wouldn't have allowed it if it wasn't true, kosher. But the bottom line is we see that we believe a shlish, we believe the one who's holding the shtar in escrow, Alma Shlish Mehemen. So this is a refutation of the second version of Rav Nachman. To Yufta, the Rav Nachman to Yufta. Obviously, we do say the migu of she could have burnt it, even if it was certified by the court, as we is trying to get on. Dov Salkowitz is trying to get on. See why he's having so much trouble. Yeah, as we welcome Dov Solkowitz, just joining us. Dov, we are on Lamed Aleph Amud Beis, and we are holding 7 lines from the top. 7 lines from the top of Lamed Aleph Amud Beis. What a wonderful way to spend the beginning of the week. You know, when you spend the beginning of the week learning 2 blot Gemara, that's a delightful way to start the new week. It bodes well for the entire week. Ki asa Rav Dimi, Amar Rav Yochanan, when Rav Dimi arrived, he said in the name of Rav Yochanan, La'oila mevi raya v'saiser, the litigant could always bring proof and reverse the decision, ad sheyistatem tainoisav, until his arguments are finished. Now that sounds like the Rabbanan, that once he says he doesn't have any more arguments, we don't accept anything from him. But V'yomer, he's not believed to say Kirvu Pliny or Pliny V'yaduni. Somebody who was in the court all the time, and he says, let so-and-so come here and testify for me, that looks suspicious. Now that sounds like Rav Shimon Gamliel, that he would be believed afterwards, but not something suspicious. So the Gemara says, Hogufa Kash, there's an internal contradiction over here. Amrit Yistatem Tanoisav, that once he finishes, then we don't accept anything anymore. That's like the Rabbanan, Hasan the Rabbanan. Then v'hadir amrat kirvu ish pleni or pleni ve'eduni, only if he says something suspicious, like somebody who was in the court all the time and he says, come here and testify for me, that's Asan Reb Shimon Gamliel. Now maybe you'll say this is all going according to Reb Shimon Gamliel. V'chi tema kula Reb Shimon Gamliel, perusha kamafarish, and it's explaining. Mayachi istatem tainaisa, what does it mean until his arguments are finished? Achi yomer, until he says something suspicious like kirvu pleni v'eduni. Now, that would be good, except Rabbi Yochanan says we don't pass like Reb Shimon. And this is the case of Raya Achrayna. So Rabbi Yochanan doesn't hold like Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. So you can't say it's all like Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. Here is the way we explain it like the Rabbanan. He could always bring proof and reopen the case until he says he doesn't have any more proofs. And he says, we say to him, bring witnesses. I don't have witnesses. Bring proof. Then afterwards we don't believe him. But if it's clear that this is something that he couldn't know about, if all of a sudden witnesses surface from Australia, or somebody all of a sudden comes in with a suitcase of documents from the father, which was deposited by a stranger that he didn't know about, then even Rabbanan agree. How is that maybe Raya v'Saiser? He could bring these proofs and unravel the case. Now, we need a rough guy. Okay, Marshall. I really had to think about it. Now, Kios Rav Dimi Amar Rabbi Yochanan Hatoikev es Chaveroi B'din. If Marshall grabs Yisrael Fisher, he's an Edel guy, Yisrael Fisher, he grabs him to a judgment. Marshall says, let's have the judgment over here in our local court, because Marshall has, everybody in the local court, they're afraid of Marshall. He's a guy, he has an arsenal, he drinks, it's all the Echadaimer, but Yisrael says, Neilach l'makam avad. No, let's go to, the big court, where they won't be cowed by a bumpkin like Marshall, So, Kaifin Aisai v'yelach l'makam avad. So Yisrael wins the day, and they force Marshall to go, to the Makam Avad. Amal of fun Rebbe Eliezer. So Rebbe Eliezer says, I don't understand. Rebbe Eliezer says to Rabbi Yochanan, I don't understand. Marshall says Yisrael owes him $100. Is it fair that Marshall should have to spend $100 to travel to the Makam Avad to collect $100? That doesn't seem fair. Amal Lefan Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Misha Noisha B'Chaver money. He has a claim on Yisrael for 100. Yoitzi Mana Almana should have to spend 100 to travel to the Makam Avad to get his 100. Ela Kaifan I say v'dan be'iroi. I don't know. Marshall is getting his way tonight. They force him to have the case in his own hamlet, in his own derfala. Ibnami
Better hot dogs here.
Ibnami Amrav Safra, Shnayim Shinitz Atzmu Bedin, 2 people that were struggling with a case. Echad Aymanidin Khan, Marshall says, let's be judged here. And Yisrael says, let's go to the place of the Chachamim. They force him to do the judgment in their small hamlet. And if the local court is not sure, so then they write a question, and they send it to the Beis Avad. If Yisrael doesn't like the decision, and he says, please put your decision in writing so I could show it to the Beis Avad, normally they don't do that, but here in this special case where he wanted to go, the Beis Din writes their reasoning, and so he could show it to the Beis Avad to see if it was, solid reasoning. And here's an interesting case. Reuven is married to Sarah. Reuven dies. Now Shimon needs either Yibam, Sarah needs either Yibam or Chalitza from Shimon. But Shimon is in Budapest. And Sarah is here in America. Who has to go to who? Does he have to go to her or does she have to go to him? Now the argument is who's benefiting over here? She's benefiting because she can't get married until she gets chalitza. Right? There's an issue of leisia meisa chutza liyizar. And that's the halacha. The Yavama has to go to the Yavam, Latira, Ad Kama Amar Rabbi Yami, Afilu Mitferia L'Tzipure, even from Tveria to Tzipure. Says the Gemara, Amar Rav Kahana Maikra, when it says in the process of the Yibram, V'Koyre Loi Ziknei Irai, and they called to him the elders of his city. So the din is that you see that it takes place in his city. She has to go to him, V'lo Ziknei Ira, and not the elders of her city. Now let's get back to this business with Marshall and Yisrael. Amar Ameimer, Hilkasa, the law is that we force Marshall to go to the place of the Vad. Now the Gemara right away says, but we just said not that way. So now the Gemara says it depends. If the one that owes the money says to the creditor, I want to go to the Beis Avad, the creditor could say, no, I'm not spending $100 to collect $100. But aval milva, but if it's the creditor that's having the disagreement, then the creditor could demand it to go to the Beis Avad because he did the favor for Marshall. He gave him a loan. And the rule is, Eved loiva liyish malva. The debtor is considered a servant of the malva. He's indebted to him. He gave him the loan. Now here the Gemara tells us some flowery language.
Rabbi Weiss, couldn't that be ribbis if he's indebted to the loaner?
No, it's due process. It's to ensure sheloi tinel delis b'fnei lavin. We never want to close the door before prospective borrowers. We need to have loans are the lubricant that allows business to prosper. So we're going to give a lot of latitude to the creditor. Otherwise, he won't give loans. I don't know how anybody gives you a loan anyway, but listen. Some people need their heads examined. Now,
Thank you.
No problem. you're holding on to your wallet, right? Because, just hold on to it.
It's secure.
Okay, just hold on to your wallet. Now, if I know Yitz, if he's visiting Marshall, then that means that he got a license to carry.
Area what?
Now, what happened over here is a terrible thing. There is an accusation that Yirmiyah castrated someone. There was a man by the name of Ukva Nabavli, and he had a claim that Yirmiyah castrated him. Terrible thing. So, Sholchu Leila Mar Ukva, this took place by Mar Ukva in Bavel. Sholchu Leila Mar Ukva, and it's amazing that this is in the parsha of Moshe and Bisya. L'deziz le kebar Bisya, to the one who has a shine like the son of Bisya. That's Moshe Rabbeinu, who was considered a son to Bisya because Kol HaMegadol b'seich b'eisai kilu yoldai. So they sent to Mar Ukva flowery language, because Mar Ukva was such a great Talmud Chacham, to the one who has a shine like the son of Bisya. Shalom, peace to you. Ukva Nabavli, Ukva the Babylonian, Kibel Kadmona, complained before us that Yirmiyah, his brother, Hever Alaya Sadera, which means that he castrated him. You can't have the way of all men. Therefore, v'amrulai, you should tell them the din, whatever the din is, whatever the punishment is. He see you and caused them v'yira panenu b'tferia, and caused them to come to us in Tferia. Now that's a contradiction. Hagufa kasha, amrit amrulai, that means that Mar Ukva should decide the decision. Alma dainu aton. Then he sold Yoreinu Paneinu B'Tferia, tell him to come to Tferia. Alma Shadru Ha'acha. It sounds like that they're saying that they should come to Eretz Yisrael to be judged in Tferia. Elahachi Kamre. Amrulei, meaning Dainu Atun, you judge him. Itzayas. If he listens to your judgment, well, but he might be a wild man. V'ilai hisiu, arrest him v'yir paneinu b'Tveria, and make him come to us in Tveria. Ravashi says castration is dine knossos. Now knossos cannot be judged in Bavel. It needs to be judged in Eretz Yisrael by smuchin. Uva Bavel leidaina dine knossos. V'hadish shochel lehachi, and that which they said you tell him was just to show honor to Mar Ukva, as if you would really be right to tell him. Today, lach lo covered the Mar Ukva. Hadron lach ze beirer, hadron lach ze beirer, hadron lach ze beirer. Another parak in the books. As we just pause a moment to turn the channel over here.